So Article 3, leaves how party polarization affects governance. Again, always italicize the name of the journal. Discusses just the distance is fine. You don't need further in depth. Just discusses the distance between the two main parties. I chopped off the end of that sentence. Wasn't adding enough in my opinion. While the control, so you say with growing support of the activists and influences, the commitment of the parties is also growing stronger. Better perhaps to try with the control observed to be exercised by activists and influencers, the parties are being clearly separated into conservative and liberal hives with their view on specific points growing more polarized. I'd say their views. So I'm making a minor change there. Again, I'm sending you back all the edits, so go by the most recent edits I'm giving you. Then I have a sentence, still the authors report the actual distance between the parties is not as large as the average voter perceives. And that will need a citation. So I've sort of rewritten the terminal part of that last sentence in the first paragraph of your Article 3 summary. Again, aiming for clarity. Compare side by side what I suggest and what you wrote. See which one is clearer. So you say one thing all three articles have in common. I say, while all three articles considered herein view social issues being much, I'll try as being much of the basis for the observed polarization. It is Lee's position that, and then I have your quote in there, which is a pretty decent quote, fits pretty well. It also means that like a third of your Article 3 review is just a quote. It's not an overly long quote, but it's a really short review in and of itself. I've done a little bit of rewriting here at the end of that paragraph. I'm saying that the beginning of polarization can be seen in the early 50s and 60s when the significant radical and social when significant radical and social movements began to get underway. Those, not these topics, are still being discussed. You understand that? Those topics we've already talked about as opposed to these topics we're going to talk about. You wouldn't say those topics we're going to talk about. You would say these topics. So it works the same way for the past too. Which allows for such debates and further polarization when voting time comes around. Because again, those topics draw in so much attention. The positions that activists have, let's put in hold there, have more weight than in the past. So you have some other stuff in there allowing these individuals to be increased and all that. I cut all that out. I didn't think it was helpful. Allowing such significant amounts of influence from outsiders into policy decision making once again points to reality that personal agendas of activists gets filled rather than policy matters with which voters are concerned. It's a good way to end it. I think you're solid on that. So what happens then is I think you've sort of gone into your analysis at that point. So I started the analysis section there, and so I'm going to jump over and do that in the next video, analysis and synthesis.